Texas Chainsaw Massacre is right around the corner, and tons of players are gearing up for this new asymmetrical horror game. So I thought it would be useful to put together a little guide that explains how to play the game and how to utilize each of the family members' abilities. This video is meant to help give people a little head start before TCM releases, and also to help everyone gain a basic understanding on how the game functions. I'll do my best to break things down in a digestible manner, but after you finish the guide, let me know if you think I missed anything. I've divided the video into timestamps as well, so you can jump to any information or family member you'd like. Of course, there are some things such as skill trees or other potential family members that won't be specifically referenced in this guide, as the full version of the game has not been released. But this guide should help you to get all the basics down and make things less complicated before adding in all that other fun stuff. So let's make like a chainsaw and shred this video out. First, let's cover the family member role basics so that we can better understand how to utilize each family member. Your goal as the family is not to let the victims escape. Sounds simple, right? Well, you're gonna have to work as a team, as victims have multiple escape routes or options for escaping. Some escapes are as simple as cutting the power to a gate and unlocking it, while others involve collecting parts in order to open alternate exits. You'll get to know these exit routes by simply playing the game, and as you begin to understand the victim role better, you'll subsequently become better at defending such exits. You'll also discover that some family members are more effective in designated areas. For example, I've found that the Hitchhiker is incredibly good at slowing down survivors from making gate escapes due to his trapping capabilities. But if you want to see a separate video on escaping or escape routes, let me know. As a family member, you can track down survivors by looking for visual cues that indicate loud movements, or by simply listening for things such as footsteps, grunts of pain, etc. You'll find buckets of blood around the map that will be helpful when feeding Grandpa, which we'll go into in just a moment. So make sure to collect blood when it's convenient. You can use the R reading ability that all family members have access to, with the purpose of gaining map knowledge and finding easier routes to those buckets. All family members have the ability to lock doors, making it harder for victims to make their way around the map, but not all doors are lockable. It should be noted that every family member can unlock doors as well. Speaking of locks, Bubba spawns in the basement separate from the other family members. The other family members are not able to enter the basement area until Grandpa has been awakened from a survivor making it out of the first basement area by unlocking a door. We'll cover more on the basement section when we make our way to the Bubba portion of the video. As mentioned before, blood can be gathered from buckets, but also by hitting victims, and this blood is used to feed Grandpa. Grandpa essentially functions as a tracking mechanism to find survivors and grows more powerful with time, given that the family members are feeding him. His power continues to grow until the victims essentially have no way to remain unseen. Grandpa gains more power as he is leveled up, but survivors can also harm Grandpa, therefore lowering his level and powers. So the longer you can keep victims in the match and the more blood you can feed Grandpa, the more successful you will be. Around the map, you can find structures that will help victims to escape family members, whether they be tight spaces, wells, or just structures to crawl under. This is essentially the looping mechanic in the game to help survivors find a way to escape the family members or prolong their chase after they have been found. Family members have ways to work around this, such as closing spaces or using a special ability to destroy them, but more on that later. There are some other miscellaneous functions around the map that are significant to gameplay, such as generators or even breakable windows, but you'll get used to where and what those things are as you become more familiar with the maps. First up, we've got our great friend, the Cook. This grumpy Gus has a lot to utilize in his kit and has a high potential for skilled play and communication. The Cook has access to padlocks which no other family members have. This means that he is able to add locks to doors that have already been unlocked by victims, or add a lock to a door that previously didn't have any. This is very helpful in terms of cutting off accessible victim routes or making it harder for a victim to pass back through an area they've already covered. The Cook has a hearing function which allows him to find survivors based off of the sound through walls. This is incredibly strong, as information gathering is one of the strongest tools in TCM. When using the hearing ability, simply look for the exaggerated wavelengths and stop your cursor when you get to the center of a suspected victim area. This will then reveal the exact location of a victim for you and your family to use. This is great not only for figuring out where survivors are hiding, but it also gives you information on what type of escape they may be attempting. When it comes to Chase, the cook is relatively weak compared to the other family members. He doesn't have very much stamina compared to the other members and has very few options when it comes to cutting off survivor resources. He is best played as an info gathering communicator who also lengthens some aspects of the match with his locking utility. I believe the cook brings incredible utility to the team, has a high skill ceiling, and is a horrifying family member in the right hands. Second up on the list, we've got everyone's favorite, Bubba. Bubba is a destruction machine, shredding any obstacles in his way to get to his victims. Bubba has a chainsaw designed for taking survivors down quickly and effectively. He can use his chainsaw and rev it up in order to become more effective on his victims, but it can come at the cost of overheating. Bubba spawns in the basement area with the 4 victims before Grandpa has been awakened. During this time, it's his job to stall survivors from making their way out of the basement while the other family members set up their resources. He can also get some early blood and possibly even an early kill. The basement is a tricky area to chase as there is limited line of sight and a good amount of resources for skilled victims. So be sure not to spend too much time destroying every resource you come across, as some victims may not spend much time down there. Bubba specializes in destroying victim resources so that he and other family members can hunt down victims more quickly. He is best utilized when hunting victims with other family members, but is still very strong on his own. Bubba is your main resource destroyer and strong anti-loop character who specializes in dismantling the map to gain the upper hand while chasing. He is at the core of game flow and can dictate how a match will play out. Last but certainly not least, we have the Hitchhiker. The Hitchhiker is a seasoned runner with lots of stamina and the ability to mimic survivor movements in chase. Though he may be good at following survivors, it comes at the cost of strength that's lacking compared to the other family members. The Hitchhiker is armed with 3 total traps, which he can use to catch survivors in. The traps can be used to cut off loops, catch survivors by surprise, or to cut off escape routes and tools. What's unique about this character is that he has more playstyles than meets the eye, as his power can be used in a multitude of ways. As mentioned before, the Hitchhiker has fluid and fast movement, allowing him to follow a victim's every step and put lots of pressure on victims in safe areas. Though he may be able to squeeze through tight spaces, he is not able to follow every survivor movement. The Hitchhiker thrives off of good information and is a very well-rounded character to support the other roles. Those are all of the basics to Texas Chainsaw Massacre in terms of the family members and their roles, and I truly hope this guide was helpful. If you enjoyed the guide, please drop a like and let me know down below if you would like to see a survivor guide upon Texas Chainsaw Massacre's full release. Thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.